My name is Filippo Rivetti and I'm a time-lapse and hyperlapse filmmaker. More than 2 years ago, I reviewed the Enlaps Tikee3 PRO and now I'm reviewing the new model, the Tikee3 PRO. It weighs 1.6 kilos and inside this weatherproof body there is a high-capacity battery. It also powered by solar with this integrated panel, can be rotated and tilted to get the best angle. It has pretty much the same design as the last model, the same form factor and dimension. As the previous model, there are two lenses to give a 220 degrees wide panoramic view. On the back there is a solar connector that allows us to attach an external solar panel. We also have a USB port to charge it, micro SD port that can store up to 512 gigabytes, and a SIM port, so we can insert our own SIM card and give the unit a 4G connectivity. Otherwise, it can just connect to Wi-Fi, to any Wi-Fi hotspot. But let's see what's new compared to the previous model. Mostly there is a solar connector that allows us to attach an external solar panel. This will give us 3 times more energy, or it can help also when we need to set up the camera where it doesn't get direct sunlight, and then we can set up the solar panel in a different position. New in this model, there is also an integrated GPS, so we can always see where it is, and if we have multiple units, we can just monitor where they are from the software online. Let's now see how we can control it through the app on the phone. It is exactly the same app as before. So once we connect to the app, we can see the status of our camera, so the battery status, how much memory is left. We can take a preview image to see that we align the camera properly and that we are capturing exactly what we want. We can create a new sequence, and here we can choose between a long-term time-lapse, event time-lapse, or burst mode, the way they call it. So we can name every single sequence, and we can choose the start date and end date, or we can leave it indefinite. And we can also choose from which start time and end time every day to shoot, and also which day of the week. We can then choose an interval. In the long term, it starts from minimum 30 seconds up to 12 hours interval. So 1 picture a day, pretty much. Then we can choose the image format, DNG, JPEG or both, and the resolution from small, medium and large. And we can choose to send the image and upload them on the cloud, and to save them on the SD card, and we can have both. So we can save both DNG and JPEG images on the SD card, but we can only send the JPEG picture, otherwise it would be too much data to send and the battery wouldn't last that long. The second option is to create an event sequence. The only difference here is that the duration is up to 24 hours, and we can take between 100 and 3000 pictures from a minimum 5-second interval to a maximum of 45-second interval. Here we cannot change the image format nor the resolution, and we cannot send the images, but we can only store them on the SD card. The last option is the burst option, and here we can set the duration up to 3 hours. We can take between 100 and 200 pictures from an interval as little as 5 seconds to up to 45 seconds. So it's exactly the same as the event. The only difference is we can send the images and we can choose a large resolution, and we can of course save them on the SD card as well. We can also choose how we want to upload the images over the cloud. There are 3 different ways to do it. The first one, the normal and default, is to send images once we reach a certain threshold, so every 24 images, for example. And the camera will connect after it has collected the amount of images, and then we'll send them. The second option is the minimal option, is the one that uses the least amount of battery, and you will just connect every 24 hours and send only the last captured images. The last upload mode is the sample mode. So we can choose a threshold, and every certain amount of images, the unit will send only 1 image. And of course, the shorter the threshold, the smaller the threshold, the more battery the unit is gonna use. In the advanced setting menu, you can also see the battery charge, how much voltage is getting the solar, and the temperature of the unit. There are a few settings that we can choose from, and mostly is the always on setting. The always on setting allows the camera to be always connected through the 4G network and will allow us to send some requests for action, for example, to send a short video, to take a sample image. We can also choose if we want only the left sensor or the right sensor to capture the image. The other two options, the GPS mode and the adaptive interval, are at the moment not working, but they should be in the next app update. We can also see what's been captured up to now, and we can format the SD card, of course. And we can also update the firmware through the cloud if you want. Enlaps Tikee comes with a very powerful online software and configuration menu. Once we log in into our account, we can check all our cameras that are operating in the field, and we can check all the settings and status of this camera. So we can see the battery level, when was the last image uploaded, which network are they connected to, how much memory is left on the internal SD card, and when the last connection was made. We can also add a sequence to any camera that is connected to our network. So we can add, for example, a burst or an event to a already set up for a long-term sequence camera. That's very useful if you want, for example, to capture a short event that is happening while we are already shooting a long-term one. We can also change some of the advanced settings, so the upload mode, for example, can be changed online without accessing the camera. And eventually you will be able to change also the geolocation and the adaptive interval. We can then go and have a look at all the sequences where we have set up or we have already shot, and we can check them in real time. And we can generate a panoramic view, so it's gonna stitch the two images of the two sensors together to give us a full 220 degrees panoramic view. We can also create a before and after image, so we can set an initial image and the final image, and then just swipe between the two, just to see the difference that happened in that time. And then we can also see a preview of the time-lapse shot up to now. So the program is going to stitch together all the hundreds of thousands images that we took into a panoramic view, and we are going to be able to see a preview of the time-lapse. We'll also be able to download this video, and then depending on our subscription, we'll be able to download it in standard quality, Full HD, or in 4K, with or without the watermark logo. That's all depend on the subscription level. We can also go and edit how this preview time-lapse is shown. So we can filter all the dates by weekdays, by period, time, and just choose a portion of those images. Another thing we can do is also create an automatic pan and zoom animation. So we can choose a starting point and the end point. And once we generate preview, the program is gonna create an animation between the two starting and end points. And then we're gonna be able to see a preview of this video. Talking about the subscription cost, Enlaps offers 3 different prices. There is a free My Tikee that allows just a minimum kind of manipulation. So we can host up to 10,000 pictures. We can download only Full HD movies with a watermark. We can then go into a €25 per month subscription with up to 50,000 hosted images, 4K and 6K videos. We can download videos without the logos, or we can add our own custom watermark. And with 10 extra euro per month, so €35 per month, we get up to 100,000 images hosted on their site. Let's have a look at the additional features we can get with the Pro subscription. We can choose the watermark, so we can have the Enlaps watermarks. We can decide to have no watermark, or we can add our custom watermark. We also have access to the Timelapse Builder. It is an automated tool that creates a time-lapse with some special enhancement. The most important one is the anti-flickering. There's also some image enhancement. Through AI, it automatically selects the best images, all the while smoothing the transition between the images. We can choose to have an automatic version of this time-lapse builder that does everything by itself. You just choose the target duration and the name, and then it creates the final video with all this announcement. Otherwise, we can also choose the manual set, where we can tweak a lot of settings. We can, for example, choose a current selection of images or a smart selection, where the AI chooses just, for example, blue sky images. Choose to turn on and off all the basic enhancement offered by the time-lapse builder. The advanced smoothing, some picture enhancement, and most importantly, the anti-flickering. We can also add some stabilization, automatic stabilization, to reduce vibration between frames, the pan and zoom like we did before, and also some relighting, where the program, through AI, tries to match the lighting of all the pictures in the sequence. We can also decide to apply the watermark and to add the date to the video. And in the end, we just choose the target duration and the video name, and while clicking generate, the program will generate the video, and it will take up to 1 hour, and then it will just get a link to our email to say when the video is ready to be downloaded. And you don't have to use this online service, although it's really useful for monitoring whatever you're capturing. You will also be able to just download the images from the SD card and just create your own time lapses. In conclusion, I find the Enlaps system a very easy to use all-in-one solution that allows us to set up long-term time lapses without having to think about too much. It is cheaper than a full professional setup, so a DSLR inside a weatherproof housing. It also doesn't offer, of course, the same quality that you can get with a DSLR and where you can choose all your lenses, but for many applications, especially in construction, the wide field of view that the Tiki offers is more than enough. The only thing to consider is probably the steep cost of the subscription if you want to use the online services. And that, I would say, is probably a must for any project where you also want to monitor and you want to upload remotely all the pictures. Also, compared to the previous model, I really find the external power source, so the possibility to attach an external solar panel, very useful, and allows to have some setups that were very difficult before, so I had to set up maybe the unit in a place where I wasn't getting too much direct sunlight. Now I can set up an external solar panel facing toward the right direction and in direct sunlight. So what do you think about it? Have you ever used, or are you planning to use any of this all-in-one solution for your time-lapse, long-term time-lapse? Let me know, and I'll answer all your questions down below in the comments. And I'll see you in the next review.